everyone. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We are your purple friends.
Purple friends.
That's not even our theme song.
Nope. Purple friends. Like that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, like that. Who are you?
I am Joe, your co-host. And
who am I?
you're
I'm Co.
I'm the
other co-host.
The other co-host. Welcome, everyone, to another episode.
Yeah. What's up? Hope you're good.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about information overload.
Yeah.
So that will be very exciting because I think it's very applicable right now.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably experiencing it.
Maybe not yet,
Maybe, though.
but maybe.
I mean, if you're one of our few listeners who cares about your mental health, I bet that you are.
Have experience.
Yeah,
Some sort of mental overload, information overload.
for sure.
So that's what we will be talking. But of course, before then, we have our little gratefuls.
Little grateful.
Do you want to go first?
I want to go first because I have two. I'm going to do one before you and one after you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my first one is journaling.
Ooh, look at you, buddy.
Isn't that weird that I'm bringing journaling?
No,
No,
you're a big
because
journaler.
I know, because I don't ever really think about it as journaling, but it is totally journaling every day.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because you look like you had something important to say.
Well, I was going to say that, like, whenever I recommend journaling to clients, I give you as an example that, like, your style of journaling isn't like the run-of-the-mill, like how you would typically think of journaling.
I love my journals.
I know. And my clients, I think, really appreciate that. And they're like, oh, I kind of do that. And I'm like, that counts.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it counts. Go ahead.
Okay.
You keep talking.
So, yeah, let me explain my journaling method. I guess nowadays people would call it like a very simplified version of bullet journaling. I feel like I've been doing it longer than that word has been like a buzzword, but maybe not. But basically, it's a set of things I want to get done for the day, ranging from the extremely small to the grandiose. Nothing that's unachievable. It's all stuff that's like actually is going to be getting done today. So it's literally like my chores for the day, stuff for work for the day, like extra stuff like, oh, I got to edit the podcast today. I got to record the podcast the other day, like that kind of stuff. So it's just organizing my thoughts and putting them down on paper. And then I also, in the same journal, keep track of all the food that I eat. Just like I write down what it is. I don't keep track of quantity. I mean, I keep track of quantity a little bit, but I don't keep track of like nutritional info.
Yeah.
Like I don't count calories or anything like that. But I do that because I have IBS. I don't know if I've ever shared that on the podcast, but yeah, I keep a food journal for that reason. And so like those two things combined, and then this other app that I use called Dailyo, which I think I've mentioned before. Man, they should sponsor us.
I do recommend them to lots of clients too. So
Yeah, Dailyo is a really simple app where you can record your at any time of day, like your mood, like on a 1 to 5 scale. I have mine set up so that like I rate myself when I wake up in the morning, and I rate my day like as I'm going to bed, and like having that cumulative information, seeing how my mood has fluctuated, plus like this information on the food that I've eaten, and also the stuff that I've been able to get done, like that tells like a really interesting picture of my inner workings. Like it's like a really different version of journaling that accomplishes a lot of the same stuff.
it does, absolutely. I mean, like you have a little bit of a brain dump, which we will talk about, with your to-do list, but then also like a reflection time, where you reflect on what you've eaten, how you have felt throughout the day, and what might be impacting those things. So yeah, all that counts, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Thanks, buddy.
My little grateful, I think you already did once, but it's my turn.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
My little grateful, of course, is Stranger Things.
And to be clear, if one of us next episode says Stranger Things season 5, that's not
It
a
still
repeat.
counts.
That's a distinct thing.
It's exactly. So we're T-minus 6 days.
Yeah, we're getting there. We talked about it like the last 3 or 4 episodes.
I'm truly right now, that's all I can think about. All I think about is Stranger Things. Like,
and our rewatch was timed perfectly.
it really was. Wow. We started October 1st, and we're currently like lined up perfectly to like end season 4 the night before season 5 premieres. And I mean, we have that whole day scheduled out.
Yeah.
We're ready. I'm ready. I'm so excited. This show is so special to us. Because like it kind of coincides with like our relationship.
Yeah, totally.
We've known each other as long as the show has been on, so it's very like full circle moment. You know, the show is finally ending after a freaking decade.
Yep.
And we've been together for a decade, so that's really cool. But we love it, and I'm so excited, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we've pulled out all the stuff. So we've got bingo cards.
Yeah, we do have bingo cards. We have
Yeah.
our predictions. We're playing a game, like we're betting something.
Yeah, we don't even know what the winner
yet.
gets yet, but it's point. We have the points assigned and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll post them on the
Our bingo cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And then maybe people, if they like them, they can make their own or something.
Yeah, or y'all can play along. Yeah, I was so excited and grateful for for Stranger Things that like if you were gonna veto Stranger Things, I had a second one, which was the Duffer Brothers.
Excellent. I love your use of loopholes.
Yes. Anyway, little gratefuls. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for listening to what we're grateful for. And you know what? Take a moment to think of your little grateful.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to save my second one because my first one lasted a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
What are we talking about again?
Information overload.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the straw that broke my brain's back. That was the sound of my brain overloading.
Oh my God, that sounded just like static on the TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Is that what you were going for?
I don't know. It just sounded like what a brain sounds like when it
Farts?
Farts. Yeah.
So today like I said, we're going to be talking about information overload, and it's really just the state of volume, speed, complexity of incoming information that exceeds an individual's cognitive processing capacity. So processing capacity is actually like a studyable thing. It really refers to working memory, and rule of thumb is like our working memory can really only hold 5 to 7 pieces of information at a time before we're able to transfer that to like long-term and commit it to long-term memory. So our working memory, like I said, is kind of finite. And like I said, 5 to 7 pieces of information really isn't a lot.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take very much before you can start to feel some of, the symptoms of information overload, which can consist of like mental and emotional fatigue or stress, anxiety, irritability, decision paralysis. My God, do I struggle with decision paralysis when I have too much information? And so, yeah, that can be really frustrating, difficulty concentrating, impaired quality of decisions, right? Like you might not feel as confident in the decisions you're making just because you really haven't had the time to process or let some of this information settle in. So that's kind of, if you have experienced that, which I'm almost sure you have.
Me?
No, not you, but like our listeners and also you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can, I think today's episode will be very informative.
Yeah, totally. Really quick, I want to go back to that 5 to 7 pieces of information thing. Because when I was preparing this study or this outline, I was learning about that, and at first I don't know if it's just like a me thing, but I like did not understand what that meant. So like 5 to 7 pieces of information is like, that's very, very little. So like, let me give you an example. It's like 5 to 7 chunks of information.
Yeah.
And a chunk of information, to give you a really concrete example, is think of a telephone number.
Yep.
So 555-666-7777. Those 3 sets are
Chunks.
each a chunk.
Yeah. I mean, and
It's why you couldn't hold like more than 2 or 3 telephone numbers in your head at once.
well, I was just even going to argue to say that like, because telephone numbers are 7, well, now they're 10, but traditionally, they were 7 numbers. Like that was like another kind of thing, is that like they're that length because that's what people can remember. But yeah, chunking it up and kind of like giving it a little bit more of a rhythmic kind of thing can help retain that information longer in our working memory before we commit it to long term.
Yeah, and that you can just like apply the idea of chunking to like any sort of like processing thing. Like if you're knitting and you're looking at your pattern, you can't like look at it and memorize the whole thing. Obviously, you can only get so far with your working memory.
And yes. I mean, yeah, I was about to get started into knitting, but we don't need to go there.
I mean, well, okay. We should feel free, but...
No, it's just that my brain is there a little bit right now. Okay, anyway, come back. Yeah. Do you want to talk about some of the misconceptions?
I would love to. A big misconception is like, if you're experiencing this, then it's a failure of your personal discipline. So like some kind of lack of willpower, like for doom scrolling, for example, like I should be able to look away. Like I simply should just be able to, rather than acknowledging like this reality that like our brains are designed to seek novelty. And there's a lot of stuff in our world that is specifically designed to like
Tap into
tap
that
into
system.
that. I was going to say prey on that,
Yeah.
that aspect of our psychology, because it's literally a biological limit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a failure of our own discipline. Or another misconception often is that like it only affects people who are easily distracted, right? This
People
kind of,
like us.
Yeah, it kind of it kind of like targets certain demographics that isn't necessarily true. You know, this is a very universal phenomenon that is tied to the limitations of human working memory, and so it's like Corey said, it's how our brain is wired, right? Not just through the hits of dopamine that we get, but like I said, just even the limitations and capacity of our working memory, even like the spotlight effect, right? Which kind of states that like our brain can really only focus on one thing at a time. It is a myth that we can multitask. We can maybe be really good at shining the spotlight from one thing to another quickly. But that kind of, I think, speaks on this idea of like being easily distracted. It's like, no, there's a lot of different systems in our brain that are constantly going on when we're talking about concentrating or intaking information. I mean, let alone, which we'll talk about, I think, a little later, like sensory information that we're constantly taking in. I mean,
Right.
And naturally speaking, you and I are taking in information from like what we see, what we smell, what we hear. Even like our body is taking information about like how like the weight of my dog feels on my lap, or like how my glasses sit on my face. Like this is all information that we're taking in, but some brains are do a little better job of tuning some of that stuff out, and other brains struggle a little bit with
Right.
that, right? So all of those personal nuances, I think, also impact our ability to focus on that working memory part, process, and retain that information.
And to get back to those like 5 to 7 chunks number, the like, for example, like let me start with the ADHD brain. Like someone who's easily distracted by something, it might seem like they have a lower working memory, but that's
Right.
because they have things distracting them, filling up
Yeah.
those pieces. If something
Right.
is a distraction, it takes up part of your working memory.
Right. And so, like, that's kind of what I mean of like sensory, right? So, like,
Yes, that's what I was going to say about the autistic brain.
right. So, like, if someone is on the spectrum and, you know, is more highly sensitive to sensory information, it's possible that 2, 3, 4 of those slots of those 5 to 7 pieces are constantly being taken up by the feeling of our sweaters,
Yes.
or the feeling of like, again, my glasses on my face are is one of those things that does distract me, that does kind of fill in one of those spots every once in a while. So yeah, some of those might just be constantly be taken up by sensory information. And so, like I said, our brains work differently, and that kind of showcases how we process new information.
Yeah. Like a real world example of that is like if I'm in, like, let's say we're going to like a big event that's noisy and I have to meet a lot of people. It's why I basically immediately forget people's names
Yeah.
the second they say it, is because like my working memory is already maxed out because of like a lot of people, a lot of sounds. Like I'm probably wearing not my normal clothing, like that. All this kind of stuff is like taking up space in my working memory because I have autism. Whereas like a lot of people would just be able to like compartmentalize it and
Yeah.
just like keep moving.
Like, I don't really struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like in those, especially with names, I don't know. I feel like I'm really good with names.
Yeah. That's why I love going to events with you.
We balance each other out pretty
Yes.
well. But yeah, the last misconception is that it's really all about screens and social media. And although like digital tech is kind of a main driver right now, information overload really can exist anywhere. Like I said, it's a pretty universal thing. You can experience that through like excessive emails, too many meetings, even like I think about going to the grocery store and trying to hold everything I need to get in my brain and
Oh,
like
yeah.
not forget like, oh yeah, I forgot I need to get eggs and
Let alone you go with your toddler.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Definitely gonna forget something.
Yeah, so that is something, another common one that I've seen and like have helped clients through is going to the doctor and like having a new diagnosis and starting new treatment. It's like that's a lot of information up front of like this medication and that and this treatment and this doctor's appointment, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a big contributor now is definitely screens and social media, which we will talk about, but it's not exclusive to that.
But, it is important to acknowledge that, like, depending on your notification settings, your phone just being in your pocket and you being aware of it or waiting for something, that could be taking up a couple pieces of your precious 5 to 7 working memory chunks.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
if you're really distracted by waiting on, I don't know, your dragon to merge or something.
or like, I think about like, yeah, when Amari was first going to preschool, I was like constantly on the lookout for like texts from the preschool and updates on her. So yeah, now that kind of stuff can be compartmentalized, which is nice. But yeah, so all these things contribute to information overload.
Yeah.
Of course, we always talk about intersectionality and just how this topic might uniquely impact different populations. So, of course, we're going to dive into that a little bit more today, starting with like just social economic status, right? People have limited access to reliable, high-speed internet, quality, filtered information, sources that like really subject them to like a higher volume of low quality, misleading, or potentially harmful information, such as like I think about like predatory emails, like advertisement, misinformation. Like I not to like out my parents, but like they are in that kind of group where it's like they are immigrants, they are older, very vulnerable to that kind of misleading and potentially harmful information.
Yeah, and not to say anything about them because like scams have gotten quite sophisticated.
Yes, I mean, especially now with like the use of AI, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, like there are definitely some groups that are higher targets, more vulnerable to that kind of preying.
Yeah,
targeting.
Yeah. Another one is race and identity. So a lot of us know what doom scrolling is. I mean, a lot of us do it, whether we're supposed to or not. Doom scrolling can have a bigger impact on some people than other people.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Let's travel back in time to 2021, the Black Lives Matter movement. All of the videos of like police brutality that were circulating on the internet, they were much easier to find then than they are now. Being exposed to that kind of content, it has a different weight for somebody who is part of the community that is being oppressed in the videos.
Exactly. I mean, even now, I'm Hispanic. I don't videos of families that look like my family being torn apart has a very
shoved
unique,
into vans by plain clothes. Never mind. I mean, and I say this often to my clients is like every time we see videos like that or see content like that, it is continuously a hit to our nervous system, right? And it does hit differently depending on who is being depicted, right? Representation does matter. And so like it's much more personal, right? When you identify with someone on those videos or who's being targeted. So yeah, absolutely. Doom scrolling, or even just information that we get from media, news sources, does just impact different communities differently. Yeah. Another way that this is different for a certain group of people is people who are caregivers. Usually in America, especially, we're talking about women. Women are juggling multiple responsibilities, childcare in a lot of cases, work in a lot of cases, sometimes elder care. All of these things, like combined, in addition to all of the other things that are going on, creates this this huge, I don't want to say like, how do I want to
mental load.
Yeah, it's a huge mental load. It's like, if you think of those like 5 to 7 chunks as like your brain's hit points, like that's just like taking a couple of them right off the top.
Yeah. I mean, it really, I think, boils down to like expectations. Because I think, especially now, a lot of modern relationships maybe make a little bit more space or like understanding around gender roles. But I think regardless, like there are still these unspoken expectations, biases, ways that we don't even recognize, and where like it might be different, right? Like I even think about Amari's birthday, right? Which I'm super grateful that like you just took care of the thank you cards. I did not have to think about them, and like you just did them. And like that's kind of what I mean. It's like expectations. These are things that kind of like fall under like under the radar, but do count. You know, I constantly talk to parents who, yeah, like you said, are juggling workloads, Slack messages, emails, but then also getting messages from their kids' teachers, making appointments, planning parties, like all of that typically, and we are generalizing here, typically falls on the woman. And I don't
think we're saying anything that anybody's unfamiliar with. I think like even at our most progressive in the last 20 years or whatever, like it still was overwhelmingly on women's shoulders.
And here's to maybe give some wiggle room, because like I said, I think I have a lot of clients who make a very conscious effort to like break down some of those roles. In times of stress, we fall back to what's familiar, and we can't help that this is just how we've been socialized, and that like if we fall back on these kind of dynamics, I'm not saying that it's okay, but like it is normal, you know? So like,
not something to beat yourself up about.
Right, exactly. Like it's important to continue to make the effort if that is something that y'all prioritize or want to do. Lastly, with intersectionality, we wanted to talk about neurodivergence, which we already have kind of mentioned before, that individuals with certain cognitive disabilities or neurodivergent profiles like ADHD, autism, really have like sensory and executive functioning demands like filtering, prioritizing, processing a high volume of information that can be significantly more taxing and leading to faster burnout and distress. Like I mentioned before, like we have talked, you know, like brains are wired differently, right? And so like it really does, I hope that we've paint kind of like a clear picture of the ways in which, especially like information overload and working memory, maybe more specifically impact these populations.
Yeah, and to speak a little bit more on that too, like maybe it's just me, but the 5 to 7 chunks situation, you can kind of see where like certain disorders, behavioral disorders and mental disorders, like really take up a big chunk of your working memory. Like, for example, someone with OCD, like whatever their compulsion is, that's taking up a significant portion of their working memory, and that's why it's a disorder. It's getting in the way of them doing other things. Same thing with like major depressive disorder, you know, like really severe anxiety disorders, stuff like that. Like all of that stuff, the reason why it is so, I guess, just crushing is because it makes your brain stop working. It cuts your brain in half, basically.
So with that, you know, we of course always want to provide like real techniques that can help, that can feel tangible. The first one I often talk about is brain dumping, right? I think that oftentimes when we have just so much information in our minds, it's already overwhelming, and there's also this pressure to like retain this information, right? Like I even mentioned like the grocery shopping, right? Like if we're just going and trying to memorize our grocery list, like that is much harder than simply writing it down. And so the same principle is true for our thoughts, for information. I highly recommend brain dumping, journaling, some sort of reflective practice that can help you just remove whatever, you know, that can be through like artistic expression, even brain dumping. The way I kind of describe it is like just writing things down, right? Whatever information is in your mind, writing it down in whatever capacity that feels best for you. That could be in list form, that could be stream of consciousness, that could be coherent like thought, or it could be creative writing, it could be like I said, artistic expression, but really just a way to unload our mind a little bit, right? So if all these 5 to 7 slots are kind of taken up by certain things, we're giving it to something else so that we can free it up for other things, right? Or rest or recovery, before we are able to like then intentionally pick up some of this information and be like, okay, I'm wanting to focus on this. So yeah,
it really shows why it's even more important to do that when you are really stressed. Like I think of like just if you are like at that like full capacity and you have like all these thoughts coming in, like just whipping around, like it helps to just like get those down, because thoughts are fleeting.
Yeah.
And like once they're gone, like if you didn't put them anywhere or tell them to somebody, they're gone.
Yeah. And that's a frustrating feeling.
Yes,
I mean, I'm
it
sure we've
is.
all had this feeling of like when a thought literally just like jumps out of your brain and you're like, what the hell? I was right there.
Yeah.
And we take a moment to like try to think of it. And it's like, and obviously that's like a one specific situation, but like, again, that feeling is, I think, very similar to what you're talking about, of like this fleeting thought, this fleeting feeling. So yeah, writing it down can really just help retain information. You can always look back on it. Another reason why I love journaling, right, is because you can always look back on it.
Yeah. You are the one custodian of your brain. You have to, well, when I said custodian, people probably thought I meant like a janitor, but what I meant was like a guardian.
Yeah. I kind of think of like the librarian.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
Like
you're the archivist.
Yes, exactly. You're taking care of, you're filtering, you're processing, you're finding a place for it in long-term memory, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you have the card catalog or whatever the new version of that is. Your brain like that does its own stuff, but like the librarian still got a job to do. You got to memorialize some of this. You have to write stuff down so you don't forget it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe we're just talking to people who are in their 30s now, but another thing that I wanted to talk about is attention training, because you can like train your attention in the same way that you can like train.
It is a practice.
Yeah, other kinds of things. Here's a really good way to do it. If your phone takes up one of your chunks or a couple of your chunks, put it on do not disturb for like a half an hour and just like do something else, and like let yourself get immersed in something else, knowing that like there's nothing going on with your phone, nothing could be going on with your phone because it's on do not disturb, and everything will be waiting for you when you get back.
Yep. I love that. Everything will be waiting for you when you get back, because that's so true. It will still be there tomorrow. I usually say that. I'm like, the laundry will be there tomorrow. The emails will be there on Monday. Like, it can wait. It can truly wait.
Yeah.
Love that. No, I think that's a very tangible way. And honestly, like, I should be using my do not disturb a little bit more.
And it would be really hard at first. That's why it's something that's why it's called training. The idea is to get to the point where like you're not checking, you can go a half hour without even feeling like you need to check your phone.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really do. Okay. Some obstacles that can come from that, or from just information overload, working memory. Is the work-life blur.
Yes.
Not the balance, but the blur, because I think, especially post-COVID, when a lot of us are working from home or working from our phones, it really has become much more blurred. So the experience of like having constant availability to work means that we literally cannot turn off our notifications without really experiencing professional risk. I know I very much experience this, and it can be hard to instill boundaries when there is just this kind of enmeshment between you and your career. And so managing that is kind of going right off of what you said, right? Like, do not disturb. Managing our digital dependence, I think, can be tough, but definitely doable, right? So a small step to overcoming some of this like work-life blur is focused availability, which Corey had talked about a little bit already. But it really maybe goes a little further of like presetting times, kind of more explicitly communicating to yourself and others these boundaries that you might be having, designating times to like answer emails versus like be with your family. Setting up auto replies, something I also don't do very much, but I think can be really helpful. Yeah, so it's just focusing a little bit of that time, I think when everything kind of starts to blur together and just is kind of enmeshed with one another, having some separateness can help. I talk about like going from work mode to life mode and how even just that switch can be really draining for a lot of people, for myself included, which is why I like to chunk my work, you know, because I'm like, then I can just be in work mode and I don't have to focus on like whether or not Amari has eaten today or whether or not she's had a nap. And then I can switch over to life mode, right? And I can let go of the work stuff. So yeah, having focused availability or focused attention can really help combat some of that work-life blur.
And then the other big obstacle, well, another big obstacle is sort of having to use your same devices for work, social life, like banking, appointments, entertainment. Like you have like this digital dependence to do all of this stuff through like your phone and your computer or whatever. It makes establishing boundaries really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because like if you're still using your phone and you don't have a way to shut off your work notifications, then like you're still getting them, which is really frustrating. A small step for that would be to create like, you can do this on your own or you can use an app, but to like use some of those apps that are good for like decluttering your phone screen. Like I think about like minimalist phone or like just like taking all of your distracting apps off of your home screen and putting them in folders on like the second page, stuff like that. I use minimalist phone personally. I love it. All my apps are just like white text, just the names of them.
Yeah.
It's like not at all like colorful and engaging. And like I have it set up so like I still have access to like the apps that I want to use and like I have time limits and stuff like that. I love the way that my phone's set up so that I don't have all that stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have it quite as minimal as you, but I have taken some steps that I think have really helped me.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in maybe a more tailored approach or a less extreme approach,
Right.
I have an iPhone and I was able to kind of shift my home, like the apps also to be like kind of monochromatic. So they're not like colorful, including the notifications. So now the notifications are kind of blend in with the rest of it and it's not as grabbing my attention or as like insistent or urgent.
Yeah.
And then of course like the limits, you know, I know a lot of people really struggle with the limits because you can easily click them or override them. But again, I kind of like to reframe that because I think the limit is not necessarily intended for you to like truly stop at like an hour a day or whatever, but like I kind of use it more as a reminder for myself or like a check-in of like, for example, like Instagram says like, okay, your time's up. And I can always click 15 more minutes, right? And it's really more of a question to myself of like, do I really want to doom scroll or you know, check out for another 15 minutes? Or is this maybe a good time for me to shift? And so like, I have no judgment on myself if I choose to click 15 more minutes because like you're allowed. But like I said, it's really more as a check-in, a reflective check-in for yourself of like, could this be a good stopping point? You know, do I need something more? Do I need something more engaging? Something else, something different? So yeah, that's, I think a very tangible small step that hopefully can feel doable. The last obstacle that I've seen or noticed for a lot of clients is like this internalized pressure to constantly be informed, that it makes us like a good citizen, good employees, good parents. And it can really lead to burnout and information overload. And I often say that like there is balance. Like I said, that stuff will be there tomorrow. You can give yourself these breaks. And I think if you have that burden, I think you can also trust that you're going to continue to stay well informed. And of course, I think we're going to talk about in just a sec, maybe ways to transform some of that pressure into like more actionable things that have more impact versus like just constantly feeling the need to consume that information. Because I think I've told clients before, like, I don't need to see the 100th video of another family being torn apart. Like, I know what I need to know. I can honestly, even like reading news has helped with like managing and protecting my own nervous system versus like scrolling, right? And just,
you don't need to consume news in the most upsetting way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that there's, okay, real quick, I know that there's like the whole argument of like witnessing, right? If these marginalized groups are experiencing it, the least we can do is witness it.
Right.
But again, there is always a balance, right? You have to protect yourself, especially if like you are raising kids, and if you are like, if you do have like, I think about my job where I have to take care of myself to better take care of those around me. So yeah, noticing that there is a balance and that you are still taking steps to feel like you're checking that box for yourself.
Yeah, and you can't like make getting information overload your part-time job.
Yeah.
And like, because that's kind of what you would be doing if you were to consume every piece of news media, every upsetting thing that happened, was you would just constantly be overloaded. And like, there's a lot of times when there's a lot of guilt, and like you were saying, like this pressure to like, the least we can do is witness, or like if I I have to interact with this in some way. I want to pitch another idea, an alternative to consuming all that content, and that is to be an informed actor. So instead of all of that stuff that we were just talking about, focus your information consumption on just a couple really trusted news sources that you know are going to give you really high quality analysis or like actionable steps. So like a news source that's going to give you unbiased info. I like AP News. And then maybe an advocacy group or two that are going to give you specific news about the causes that you care about and actionable steps on how to get involved. And that way you can get your news from those two sites and from those couple sources or whatever, and not doom scroll to get your news. And you have a clear pathway to taking action with these advocacy groups that you're now following.
Yeah, because I think what I've seen for a lot of clients is that they feel burdened, right? With like, I don't know what to do, or I feel like there's just a lot going on. And it's like, it really transforms that overload from a paralyzing burden to a fuel to like empowerment, to increase your sense of control, right? So like even signing a few petitions or emailing, taking the action of emailing a representative, or donating.
Fivecalls.org.
Yeah, donating to something like really can feel much more not only empowering, but fulfilling, satisfying, instead of just like constantly consuming more and more media or more and more news and being like, I don't know what to do, or like this is a lot, or I have to do a lot. Just do a few things, boom, 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 done, done, done.
Yeah, and give yourself a time limit.
Yeah,
you don't need to just continue. What do you think, buddy? Is that about wrap it up for us?
I think so. I mean, we don't want to overload our listeners.
That's true. Gang, if you want to support our podcast, Purple Friends, go ahead and tell somebody who you know to listen to this podcast, because we don't advertise. It's all word of mouth.
Yep.
Like, you could double our listenership overnight by just telling one person.
Yeah.
Everyone who listens to this, tell one person. But we would really appreciate that. We're trying to do a lot of good in our community, and by listening to our podcast and helping us grow, you can help contribute to that without even spending a penny.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to do a lot of good in our community, like make free workbooks, our pro bono fund, to help people in need get free therapy, and of course this podcast.
Yeah. And we love y'all.
Yeah.
And we're so happy that you're here listening to us. And hopefully that today's episode could have brought you a little relief, a little, actionable steps.
And hey, we're getting close to the end of season 2. In another few weeks, we're going to have a little bit of a bonus, kind of a retrospective and some highlights for everybody. And we're just really happy that you're here. We just want to say thanks so much for listening.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Purple Friends is an independent podcast produced by Vibe Therapy Services and is not a substitute for a session with a real therapist.
Our show art was created by me, Jocelyn Lang.
And our theme music is Nature Nurture by me, The Implied Bear.
Vibe Therapy is an Illinois-based private practice servicing clients in person at our Wheaton office and virtually throughout the state of Illinois.
We accept Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, Aetna, and Cigna insurance. We also offer cash pay rates, financial assistance, and free 15-minute initial consultations where you can get a feel for our practice.
Think of it as a vibe check. Therapy doesn't have to feel clinical. Visit vibetherapyservices.com today to see if we vibe.